Okay, so if you guys don't know who Bob Doyle is, why don't you take a second, Bob, to introduce yourself?
Thanks. Hi, my name is Bob Doyle, and I'm probably better known for being one of the featured teachers in the film and the book The Secret, which is, about the law of attraction. I've been doing that work for since 2002. So what is that, 13 years or so? And it's one of those things that I never would have seen coming because I struggled and struggled with career and finances and the whole thing. And I hit a point in my life where it's like, okay, I need some other kind of answers. The logical, practical answers weren't working. And so I kind of started going down the metaphysical path, started learning about visualization and meditation, those types of things. Anyway, long journey to lead me to these series of big aha moments about the law of attraction, the energetic nature of the universe, the power of our thoughts that we don't give a lot of conscious attention to. And once I started studying all that and untangling my own limiting beliefs and things like that, and I started to see results with this law of attraction and get a real scientific understanding of it. That's my whole thing. It's not, I don't want it to be, I think a lot of people have resistance to it because it sounds so woo-woo. So I really started to dig into the science of it, the physics of it and all of that. And so when I teach it in all of my programs and all of that, that's the forefront of the thing, to get rid of any sort of questions about, is this a real thing or not? Because then people can put that level of resistance aside and really just focus on having fun with it and getting results with it. So, but in one way or the other, I've been teaching life by design type principles since 2002. And now with these amazing platforms, it's a whole new way to do it.
Yeah, you can teach to the world. It's insane. So I am a huge fan of the law of attraction, and I think I was okay. Backtrack, before I ever found The Secret, I think I was doing the law of attraction without knowing.
Most people.
Because I remember when I was little, and you know that song that I forgot what it's called, but it says, "Today is going to be the day that I die."
Yeah, this will be the day. American Pie. Yeah.
Yeah, American Pie. So when I was little, I would never sing that line. I would say, "Today is going to be the day that I don't die." And I promise you, I remember that. And then my friend, my college roommate, she might pop on here, but she introduced me to The Secret, the movie. And I'd watched the movie, and then I actually read the book. But it was life-changing, really, just to know the scientific background of how powerful our minds can be.
Yeah.
And we started testing it out on parking spots, because I was in college at the University of Florida. You can't find a parking spot as a freshman at all. It's literally impossible. So we were like, let's try the law of attraction. Let's try The Secret. So we would be going through literally a parking lot at 12 a.m. There's maybe only 20 spots. And we would visualize the lights going on of the brake lights, the car slowly pulling out. And there's nobody outside, but we would just picture that end result. And every single time it worked. And we were like, oh my God, The Secret works.
Imagine that.
So awesome. Yeah. So then I studied more into it and, used it on more things than just parking spots. But it was very, very cool. So, so you have a program, and you could talk about that program if you want. And that's how you got asked to be part of the movie and the book.
That's correct. I had been teaching the law of attraction online through this Wealth Beyond Reason program for, I guess it was a couple of years, because I think I got the call, it's been 3 years, because I think I got the call. No, I got the call sometime in 2004, I think, about the thing being done. And then, did the interviews or whatever in 2005. And then it was released in 2006, something like that. But yeah, I think when Rhonda Byrne, who created the thing, started conceptualizing this, she had 8 people in mind that she wanted to be in it. And I was one of them, because she had found, I guess, she just started doing a search on where can I learn more about this law of attraction thing. And I guess she just scoured the web and found my program. And I think, my gut is that the reason that I was chosen was because I wasn't too woo-woo, because I had sort of a mainstream take on it. And because, if you watch the film, there's all sorts of different types of teachers in there, some very spiritual, some very, very practical and business-like. So there's just this whole range to represent, I think, a vast segment of the population. So I think that she just resonated with the way that I did it. And from a law of attraction point of view, I always say, when people ask me, how did you end up in The Secret? Well, there's the practical thing where I tell the story about how she called and blah, 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 all of that. But then I think really when it comes down to it, in terms of just vibrational resonance with one another, we both have the same mission, which is to get this message out to as many people as possible. And I was doing it through my Wealth Beyond Reason program, and she was doing it to create this movie, but there was such an energetic resonance with what we were up to in the world. I think ultimately that's how it happened, because it certainly wasn't anything like, I didn't have a vision board about being in a law of attraction movie, right? I mean, that never would have even entered my mind. But it is a fit. It's an energetic fit.
Yeah, I always say the best moments, the most incredible opportunities happen when they're unplanned. So you could have never, you can't plan that, but you are on the right path towards your vision. And you guys, since you guys share that similar vision, you got your paths aligned, and that was amazing.
Yeah, there's a distinction with this whole planning thing, because sometimes when people get into planning or setting goals or that, whatever that switch is in their mind, what happens is they then become attached. A goal becomes something that they're now attached to, like they have to have this. Like, if I don't get this, then that means the law of attraction doesn't work. It means, it just makes it mean all this stuff when you attach such specific significance to a particular goal. So for some people, a goal or a plan can actually slow them down. I mean, we can work through that because it's just resistance. But for some people, the minute they click into goal mode, then they've got all this stuff around it. Whereas the language I use is vision. I want you to have a vision, and I want you to be very clear on how that vision makes you feel, because ultimately that's what's important in terms of activating, if you will. The law of attraction is always working. I need to make that super clear. It's not something you turn on. It's not a personal development tool. It just always is, and it's determining every aspect of our reality in every moment. So, but we as humans get to play inside that space because we're becoming aware of, like you said, the incredible power of our minds to shift intentionally our overall energetic vibration to be in alignment with whatever it is that we want. So the only limit is how much will we allow ourselves to move into resonance with something. And that's what was happening. Like in my life, I could want success and a successful business and lots of money and to be debt free. This is back in 2000-ish. I could want it all day long. I could imagine it all I wanted. However, if I had an inner belief, which I did, that money's hard to come by, that I'll always be in debt, all of that stuff, that's a very deep, long-running program with a very specific energetic impact on what I'm going to allow into my life. So until I untangled all of that, first by recognizing it and taking responsibility for exactly what my situation was, it was never going to change. And that's kind of a very significant point, this whole being able to take responsibility for wherever you are right now. It's not about blaming yourself. It's not about making yourself wrong, like, oh, what did I do? Faulty thinking, I screwed up, whatever. It's not that. It's just 99% of our reality is created by default. I mean, we're not consciously thinking about every single aspect of our lives. We're not visualizing every single aspect of our lives. But we've kind of coasted into this default resonance, and so our life is what it is. However, we can be more proactive. We can get intentional with this power of visualization that we have and the power of our emotions, and recognizing that if we've got blocks, that it's just energy, just like everything else, and that we do actually have the control, ultimately have control over those blocks, eliminating them, neutralizing them, however you want to say it, so that force field that those blocks literally are, can be lowered, and you can actually allow the things that you want into your life. But it's very important that you're very clear on what it is that you want and why you want it. I think after The Secret came out, there was a lot of, oh, I can just wave this magic wand and get $1 million or whatever, because everybody thinks $1 million will solve their problems. But they never really take the time to say, what am I really passionate about? What do I really want to be up to in the world? What does abundance really mean to me? Does it mean $1 million? Does it have to be $1 million? Because actually, in some cases, $1 million could be thinking too small. So it's really, I'm not a big fan of the specific dollar amount thing, because again, people get attached to a dollar amount and feel like if they don't hit that, then they failed somehow, as opposed to why that dollar amount? What is that dollar amount going to afford you in terms of you living your greatest life, contributing the most value, and then of course reaping the most abundance as a result? So for me, it's all about the vision and how the vision makes you feel. And when I take on a new coaching client or whatever, whenever I'm working with anybody who's struggling, I ask them about their vision, and then if they tell me what it is, they have to be able to answer the question, okay, well, why must I do this? Why must I do this? You know, if they're really struggling, because it has to be bigger than them. You know, it has to be like, and I'm not saying, you know, like if you wanted to manifest a cup of coffee, it's, you know, you have to say, why must I have this coffee? But when you're talking about your life, there's just too many things that can pop up and slow you down and knock you off track and decide, you know what, I'm just not gonna, it'll never happen. But if you can lock on to, well, why must I do this? Why must I be this person in the world? You know, what will the world and myself, what will we all be missing? What's the impact of me not being this and doing this? And when you can really lock into that and the vision becomes bigger than you and your ego and, you know, any sort of person, you know, what is it? Physical possessions or whatever like that, when you can think bigger than that. Now, when you reach your resistance, it's like, well, yes, I've got this resistance, but I can't stop because I must do this because, and it just propels you forward. It's really critical, especially if you've been working with the law of attraction and feeling stuck. I would challenge you to look at your vision and see just how compelling it is.
Awesome. So we have a person calling in, Transform Mindset. Let's see if they have a question for you. Gonna accept them. We'll also be, you know, letting other people.
Hello.
Hi. Welcome. So so introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm calling from the UK. It's my first time being on Blab, so I'm experimenting. And yes, I'm interested in law of attraction. I have a very good question. I always ask different coaches about it. It's basically law of attraction is the thing is out there. You just need to call it in and ask for it to come into your world. A lot of people say when you ask for it, you don't have to work for it. You just sit down and ask for it and dream about it and visualize it, which I agree is a part of it. But there's a way you need to work toward it coming to your door or coming to your place or your community.
Yeah.
You cannot just fantasize of something and boom, it's there. It doesn't work that way.
Correct. And sometimes it can show up like that, like the parking spaces or whatever. But it's still about action. Like when the parking space opens, you still have to drive into it.
Exactly. It's a probability. You go to the parking lot or whatever. There's one car leaving, you might find the space. It's a coincidence. But it works in a funny way, I understand. But there should be an equation there somewhere.
Well, look, it's a dance. I always say it's a dance. We are all part of the same ocean of energy, which is the universe. We're all connected to it. And as soon as we have a thought, an emotional shift, we change our vibration, and then we are now resonating with something else, and that's what's going to determine what comes into our life. But like, let's say we create a vision for ourselves, something huge, something inspiring, the thing that we can answer, why must I do this? Now the universe is going to immediately respond, but it's not going to necessarily respond by saying, okay, here it all is at one time. It's going to give you the next step to take, the next piece of inspired action, the person to call, the idea to act upon, you know, the book to write, whatever it is, you know, it's going to respond to show you the path to take. Now it's up to us to act on that as it shows up. So it's not, like you say, it's not about just sitting around and waiting for everything to just magically materialize around you. But you have told the universe, this is what is. That's ideally, you're not saying, this is what I want in the future. You're getting into the space of this is what is right now. And the universe responds to make that happen. But it's going to show up in a lot of different ways. It can show up in a thought. It can show up with a person showing up in your life, an opportunity that comes up, but you must dance with that. You know, you take the next step and then the universe responds to that. And it's just like this.
It's a relationship.
Yeah.
So,
I was down this one path. When I was in, I always thought I was going to be working in the fashion industry. I was interning in fashion, and I got a job right out of college at InStyle magazine. But before then, I was in a very dark place, and I was allowing negative thoughts to kind of rule my life. And I said on January 1st that I was going to make a change. But like you said, a belief is deep-rooted, and saying it and believing it are two completely different things. So I said that I was going to make a change, but I didn't believe that I could. So then 26 days later, I ended up in a induced coma, and I had a 1% chance of living. It was like, my body went into septic shock, and they told my mom, call your family, she has 24 hours to live. And I really, truly believe that it was my thoughts that helped heal my body out of the coma. But also, it was like life or the universe throwing something at me saying like, Alexa, you need to wake up because you have a purpose in this world and you're not living it right now. So, I mean, it was a really bad wake-up call, or a really intense wake-up call. But actually, I still graduated. I obviously survived. I graduated from college on time, moved to New York City, and was still living this life that I thought belonged to me. And I ended up getting sick again. And then I was struggling with post-traumatic stress. And it wasn't until I took a step back and realized, that life that I thought I wanted, that doesn't belong to me. That's still not my vision. My vision is making a difference in the world, one person at a time. And so the universe showed me a very hard way that it wasn't the right path I was going down. And until I listened to it and accepted that, that's when my life transformed. And also I said to myself, this is how I overcame PTSD and overcame that depression was, I stopped asking myself, why did this happen to me? And instead asked, why did this happen for me?
Exactly.
And I really thought that changed everything.
I mean, I'm 43 right now. In my mid-20s, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And it was like a slap on your face that, I was half paralyzed. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. And it went like a dark side for a year. I was suicidal, don't want to talk to anybody. I was totally cut off. Until one day I decided I want to get out of it. And it's not my life anymore. Until today, I don't take any medication for multiple sclerosis. I'm still walking and talking.
Yeah.
And to me, it's just the power of wanting and believing that you can do something. And the universe do respond nicely. But you have to ask of it and from it nicely and give out for it to give you back. It's, as he said, it's a dancing, it's a mutual relationship. It's like a dating relationship. You give love, love will come back to you. So everything goes and grows gradually and nice. And today I consider my multiple sclerosis as a gift. It's a gift from God. I'm so happy that I have a chronic disease. I am really grateful for having that. And I feel I've done it. And yes, I won and I'm going on ahead with it.
Well, there's no better mindset than that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You shift your perception, the universe will shift with you. It's like...
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of people, when they ask, they think that, like you said, the universe will just give it to them, but they ask and they don't fully believe. They say like, okay, I'm asking for $1 million, or I'm asking to become a successful musician, but they don't really believe that they can do it themselves. So they're like taking the control off of them, which I don't think that
have a very good sense and instinctive ways. You can ask to be a millionaire, but really, you think it's going to come and knock on your door and give it to you? It says exactly what you're really eager for and what your real down deep need is, and will give you then and there. Because you can sit, I can sit when I have a mansion, a house, and I want to live in Buckingham Palace where the Queen is. But you know what? Is it real? Is it realistic? Is it exactly deep down is what you need? There's always common sense and logic in certain ways what you really feel and believe that is needed for you then and there.
Well, and that's the kind of thing when people come to me and they say, I want this thing that, like I want to live in Buckingham Palace. It's like, it's really about digging down into, well, why do you want that? What do you think? What are you going to get out of that? And then show them other ways to get that exact same feeling that they're not going to have this immediate block to, because you're right. They're not going to be able to have this deep belief, this knowing that they can move fully into resonance with living in Buckingham Palace or getting $1 million overnight or any of those other things. But they can believe that they can feel a certain way. I mean, it may take a little bit of time to get them over their stuff, but there's a distinction between like Alexa was saying, about believing. I actually like to push it a little step further and bring it into a knowing. When you can get into a knowing that you're going to have this, or that this vision is going to, that's way stronger than believing, because believing is actually, it implies a little bit of, it implies a little bit of doubt. It really does. So there's a knowing. And that's why when I approach the law of attraction, that whole science piece, because then I can say, look, it's right here. there's the proof. You can know it. You don't have to believe it. You can know it, and that's a much different energy that you're putting out there, and so that's why setting that foundation, of the science for me, and the people who are like me, who really who just couldn't see a result until they knew that they weren't being duped by some sort of new agey idea. You know what I mean? So when you know that, and then once you do know what the law of attraction is and how it works, then you can know that anything is that ultimately you can get your vision. You can make your vision a reality, but we need to make sure that it is in fact your vision and not somebody else's vision, something that you learn from TV that you should want, or that your parents want. All that, what are you really about?
What is the difference between manifestation and law of attraction?
Well, manifestation is the result of you being intentional with the law of attraction. I mean, the law of attraction just is. It's what's holding the universe together. It defines, it sets the energetic rules. How does all of these molecules, how do they come together to form our experience of reality? I look at manifestation as an intentional, well, I guess not, it's not always intentional, but it is the showing up of something in your life as a result of how this energy is working. So, when we think about manifesting, it's more of an intentional thing. Like, I would like to manifest this relationship. I would like to manifest this career. So in that case, it's like it is about the intentional moving into alignment with something so that something can appear or manifest in your life. The law of attraction is just the law, the science that makes that occur.
So really, you are the manifester. The law of attraction is the law behind it.
Yeah, that's the law of attraction is what makes the manifestation process work.
Awesome. Yeah, Grace Smith is calling in, so I'm going to accept her. Also, see if she has any questions.
Hi.
And then, of course, hi everyone. Hi, Grace.
I think Grace is periscoping.
I am periscoping.
Oh, can you periscope and blab at the same time?
Well, she's got her phone right in front of her. So
I have some questions from my audience. It's so nice to meet you all. Thank you for allowing me to hop in.
That's great. Thanks, Grace.
Sure. So right prior to this at 12 p.m. Eastern, I do a daily meditation on Periscope. And we did today on law of attraction because we knew we'd be hopping over here to join you. Ooh. And something very interesting happened that I'd love your thoughts on, Bob, and all of you. On Periscope, there can be trolls. There can be people saying kind of gross, nasty things every now and again. And today, they were exceptionally off the charts. It was just horrific what was being said. I mean, to the point where I was almost embarrassed for anyone who would have to read it. But because we were talking about the law of attraction, because we were talking about the purity of thoughts and manifesting the life that you want, it would have been so counterintuitive and so hypocritical to allow me to go down into this negative spiral while reading their comments. So it was actually quite a gift because I got to practice in the moment, not becoming negative while talking about the importance of manifesting exactly what you desire. But a lot of my followers who are so sweet and kind and wonderful, they were just like, how do you get to the point where someone else's negativity no longer affects you at all so that you're not manifesting a life you don't want? And I'd love your thoughts on it.
Okay, I would love to answer that. Because if we perceive something as negative, it is triggering something within us. If somebody said something negative to me that I had no association, no trigger with, no past experience with, it would just like if they said that you're purple, they insulted me with lots of anger and hatred, telling me how purple I was. Well, I would just roll right off my back. It would just be nonsensical, right? But if we're triggered by something, it is associated with something in our life. Now, in the case of the trolls, I mean, they're just plain. They cross the lines of decency. They're trying to get a rise out of people, and what gets triggered in us is that's just plain rude behavior, right? But it doesn't have to affect us personally. The beauty of these types of technologies is we can delete and block and all that other stuff. But it is interesting, like you said, it's a gift. It's an opportunity. Like, you can look at it afterwards and what was it that triggered me about that? You have an opportunity to go, well, why was I upset? And sometimes.
Oh no, I think we lost him. That's okay. He'll come back. To jump on that, I definitely believe that when like what he said, if say a bully is talking about something that's personal to you, it's going to affect you more than it affects you if you know it's like completely untrue.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Let me try to refresh this real quick and then see.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
But
Sorry about. See, this is exactly what I was talking about.
yeah.
You're building up to something awesome, and then all sorts of resistance happens.
Yeah.
It's that last little. Fight from your ego to say, "Are you sure you want this?" Because I'm going to throw everything I have at you to see if you're actually ready to move on to this next thing. And so, that's why we have this. Sometimes we have this long, dark night of the soul before we come out on the other side of something really incredible, or it gets really, really tough before it gets awesome. Now that's not. I do not believe that that's like something that the universe builds in. I'm going to test you. I don't give that kind of. I don't anthropomorphize. I've screwed that word up. I don't make the universe like that, like it's a judgmental thing, like, well, you're not ready for this. I think we impose that on ourselves. The universe, our experience in the universe is a reflection of what's going on inside of us. So if anything shows up in our space, it's because we're in some way activating that energy to show up. Otherwise, it couldn't. So I think it's us who really creates our own test and puts us through those trials. We're really testing ourselves. Are we really ready to step into this next level of greatness? And all too often, people get stopped by that when that resistance shows up and everything starts falling apart. They go, okay, obviously I shouldn't do this, but that's not true. It's just that you're that last vestige of limiting thoughts and beliefs, the old you who's about to that's going away, because now you got to step into this new you. It's fighting for its life, if you will. The ego is fighting for its life. And so go ahead.
1 second. Do you guys see Bob, or is it just me?
I don't see audio.
Okay, so Bob, we hear you, but we don't see you.
Okay. Well, I can try again. Let me get out and try again. Hold on.
Hold on, Tony. You'll be able to jump in once the seat opens. 1 second.
Actually, I'm going to change browsers because this one's really getting clogged up and it's getting slow. So I'm going to switch over to
Chrome is what works best.
Yeah. Okay. Though that's what I'm going to do. But first, I can't even select the.
Are you the one who started the blab? The one who started the blab can X out all the people who are in line and then jump into the next open seat.
So I have to exit out everyone because.
Oh no! If you're Alexa, you're the one who started the blab.
Yeah.
Okay, well then it's fine. I thought maybe he did and he was trying to find his way back in. But yeah, you got to X out everybody else who.
Is in line.
Yeah, everyone else is in line, and then let him in.
All right, Tony, you'll be able to jump in 1 second once we get Bob back. So yeah, Rachel, you can introduce yourself in the meantime.
This is my second time blabbing. I'm so, it's like, speaking of law of attraction, to be able on this with you, Alexa, because I'm a big fan of yours. I love what you're up to. I think you're fantastic. And
awesome. Thank you.
Speaking of law of attraction, it was so cool because yesterday I was watching this blab and suddenly Sean appeared, the guy who founded Blab. And so then I jumped on it and suddenly I was able to ask him questions. And so being on that blab, I learned exactly how this all works and like how you all the little details.
That's the same thing that happened to me on my first blab. Sean jumped in and I was like, I'm just attracting this.
All right.
So I was like tweeted to you like, get on this blab because Sean's on here. So you had already been.
Yes. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for like being part of my Periscope channel and everything. I'm glad I got to meet you. This is so awesome.
Yeah, let me follow you guys also.
So we can see you again, Bob.
All right, and you can hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, there's like a beeping sound. You guys hear that?
I heard it, but it's not on my side.
That's okay.
But see what I'm talking? All the resistance. It's like, don't let the message out.
Okay, yeah. Let's just keep on pushing through.
Okay.
So Bob, I'm interested. You're saying that it's not built into the universe, this resistance or the dark night of the soul. It's something that we've created, which is a huge relief on one hand, that it's not a part of the law. But on the other hand, we must have collectively agreed on some level throughout the ages that this is a part of the process.
Yes.
is there something we can all do collectively to get over this? Because it's just, as you said, it stops so many people an inch from glory.
Yes, and so you're right. It's one of those things that we've learned our limitations over the course of time, and they're ingrained generation after generation after generation into our societies, and so they're really deep in there. And it's going to take, so however long it took for us to embody those limiting beliefs, we're going to now have to intentionally shift out of that. And that's going to happen by an understanding of how the law of attraction and these other universal principles work, living in alignment with them, doing the work to move through the limiting beliefs and the resistance that we have. I mean, we're going to have to be very conscious about this, and not everybody's up for it, because what they want, they heard about the law of attraction. They want it to be this super easy, okay, I just close my eyes and manifest, like a magic trick, but what we're doing is there is this collective consciousness, and we are all in agreement in all these various areas. It's going to take a while, but we start with ourselves. So our responsibility is to embody these principles, be a living example of what's possible, show the people around us our sphere of influence through like this technology where we can reach an even larger audience, to just not try to convince people, not drag them kicking and screaming, but just to be an example. We're ultimately responsible for our own experience of reality, our realities, and we hope that we can inspire others to take more responsibility for theirs as well. But we can't make them do it, but we can show the way and hopefully inspire those people who resonate with us the way we deliver our message, and just do what we can to change consciousness as a whole. And the beauty is that, yes, it took however many generations, hundreds of years, thousands of years even, to get where we are now. But we didn't have the technology. We didn't have the ability to spread messages so quickly, and so widely all over the place. So the road back doesn't have to be nearly as long as the road it took to get here. But, it all individually, our experience of even what's going on out there is still our responsibility. So it's kind of that be the change we want to see in the world thing. We need to say, okay, well, what do I want my experience of the universe to be? What is my vision for humanity? And then how can I live my life in alignment with that vision? I think that's the best impact that we can make, is just really honor our own path fully.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Someone told me, it was in a poem, I forgot where I read it, and then someone was talking about it, but a lot of us, we tend to give into what society's doing. We get peer pressured into what our friends are doing. So like, for example, if you want to eat healthy, but everyone around you is not eating healthy, you're going to think like, oh, well, they're not doing it, why should I? Or even like in college, everyone wears gym clothes, but I liked getting dressed up, but like, oh, nobody's even getting dressed, like I should just wear gym clothes. But if you want to have that life, if you want to be that change and change the world, I mean, obviously those are very small examples, but you need to live that, no matter if the people around you are living that or not. It's only going to change if you start and do it. So I definitely think that was like a total mindset change for me. Like, wow, if I want that life, I just have to live it, no matter if other people are not, if I ever want any change.
One of the things about relationship of any kind is that when we look at our current relationships, they're all there completely appropriately. We have been in vibrational resonance with these people, these situations, otherwise they wouldn't be there. So now what happens is we're going to take a shift. Hi, Sky.
Hi, Bob.
We're going to make an intentional shift in our own vibration. We may not then, when we create a bigger vision for ourselves, we may no longer be in alignment with these people. You know what I mean? Like we've attracted them appropriately because we've been in alignment with their limiting beliefs or whatever it is. We've shared an energetic conversation, so they're in our lives. And now we've woken up and we've said, you know what? I want something bigger. Well, they may not be ready for that, And so again, to your point, it gets hard because these people, they may be like your spouse, your immediate family, like really important people. And the idea of moving away from them is very often enough to keep a person stuck. Like I would rather sacrifice my own life so that they'll be comfortable. That happens all the time, right? So that's the kind of the point where you have to say, whose life am I going to live? Am I going to live my life, the life that I'm here to do, that I feel being pulled, my heart is screaming, please do this? Or am I going to compromise the rest of my life so that I don't upset this person or upset that person or whatever? And it sounds like obvious. Well, of course you're going to live your life, but it's really, when you're in it, right? Yeah. It's very difficult but you don't know. You don't know for a fact that these relationships are all going to fall away, but they might. I mean, it's just you just have to detach. Like just have to know that, well, look, when I move into this bigger version of myself, I'm going to attract a whole new group of people who support me, who celebrate my contribution. And it's just going to be better for everybody. And maybe these current people in my life will be inspired to follow. Again, you don't want to drag them. You got to believe me. You got to come. I mean, like when one spouse watches The Secret and loves it and the other one doesn't, and that frustration, like, well, why can't you just see how this is true? You can't do that. There's people are like this, you just have to be you and be inspiring and show and let following your passion create this light that shines within you that undeniable, so that people around you are going, wow, I don't, what are you doing? Maybe there's something to this, or they don't, whatever, but you can't be attached to getting the approval of other people to live your life, because that will slow you down just about more than anything.
Yeah, I agree. The only approval you need is your own.
That's right.
So, hi, Sky. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, Alexa. My name is Sky Marcano. I'm a clothing designer. I'm a Huffington Post blogger. I'm a creative entrepreneur, and I periscope a lot about sales and marketing on Facebook, but I do talk a lot about mindset and law of attraction. And, I have about 100 million things I could say about this, and I don't even know where to begin, because it's happened, so many times in my life, and then not, and then happened. And like Bob is saying, it is tough because life gets in the way, and there are people sometimes around us that don't support it. And I think for me, I've always found that if I am just being in it, it's easier for me to follow these kind of law of attraction things, or they just happen naturally. I'll tell you a funny story. I think it was yesterday. I was having lunch with my son, and I said, I want to do a workshop in a different city. I want to go to New York and do a workshop and host it. And this is a really funny story. And I said, maybe I should ask someone like Bob Doyle if he'd like to do it with me. And my son thought, wow, that's crazy. Like, you're ambitious. Like, I said, yeah, I guess I am. That is a bit crazy. I probably won't. He kind of talked me out of it because he's only 14. And that's fine. I was fine with it. But I talk about that kind of stuff all the time. That's just one example. I'm always thinking about, who can I talk to? Who can I ask? Who can I collaborate with? And I went home and I went on to Periscope and I was talking about Blab, and Bob Doyle entered the room. And then we ended up being on Blab like literally an hour later. And I'm only telling you this story just because of how quickly, wow, if you have a mindset, like things can start to happen, even if it isn't exactly what I was talking about with my son. But it was just so fascinating to me. So that's why I came on here. I just wanted to share that story.
That is very cool.
I love that story.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah. I think there's power in it. And it's happened, I talk about all the time, like when I was a single mother, I used to fantasize. I was 17 years old. I was a single mother, like completely like, bare bones, rock bottom kind of thing. And I used to fantasize about being a designer, like a very successful designer. And then I ended up, partnering up with someone and getting investors. And we built the company to like 1.2 million one year. And that all crashed down and ended, but it still happened in my life. And I also think with this kind of thing, it can happen later. Like I was 17 when I fantasized about being a designer. It actually didn't happen for me until I was like 26. So yeah, that's another little tidbit.
Yeah, the whole rushing, when we put a timetable on it, one way or the other. I mean, you could say, well, I want this in 10 years, or I could say I want this in next week. But then you are really limiting what is possible, because the universe can do things very quickly, extremely efficiently. Mm-hmm. But again, we have to energetically allow everything to happen to us. So, and it really, it can get, when you look at the physics of it, it is pretty complicated what's going on in this, whatever we are, and however far that goes out in the universe.
Absolutely.
It's pretty complicated stuff. So, but what you can know, again, once you understand the bare the basics of it, you can understand. It's enough to understand that there is something going on down there. Like if it's not showing up the way that you want it to, well, then there is something going on down here. And the good news is that you can work on that. There's plenty of tools out there to deal with energetic resistance like EFT and other things like that. All sorts of ways, but owning that there is something going on and that the universe isn't out to get you or try to keep you small or that everything's conspiring against you. That just isn't how it is. All of that, all of those beliefs, all of that that's showing up as a reality is still something that is a result of what you are putting out there energetically. And so again, it's not about blaming yourself for making yourself wrong. And in fact, it's extremely empowering to go, okay, I don't know exactly how I did this, but I did. And if I did it, I can undo it or change it. I can evolve it. That's where the power comes from. It's like, no matter how bad it is, if you can say, all right, somehow I'm in alignment with this. How am I going to, and you don't have to sit there and obsess over it. You don't necessarily have to figure out even how did I get into alignment. Sometimes it can be helpful, but you don't want to get stuck on the problem. You want to go, well, where do I want to go next?
Yeah, I also think that if you focus on all the times in your life that it's happened, it can be really helpful too, even if you're not there right now in alignment like Bob's talking about. But if you focus on the times that you have been, it can help you get back into alignment. That I believe in that too.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's really true.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, it's the same thing with the law of attraction. If you focus on the negative, you're attracting what you're focusing on. You know, you manifest what you pay attention to.
Yeah, can I throw something out there because it feels like the right time? And this is one of the hugest blocks that everybody has when they start working on the law of attraction. And to us, I think it's going to seem very basic. But even I can forget this. We can all forget this. When we've got an issue in our life that we want to change, you know, whether it's financial or relationship or health, it doesn't matter. We just know, okay, I'm not liking this and I want something else. It is natural and easy to focus on, I want this thing changed. So we go into this work with the law of attraction, basically telling the universe, I have a problem that I need changed. So the constant conversation is, I have a problem, I have a problem, I have a problem, I have a problem. And we wonder why we're stuck. And we wonder why it's so slow going. So if you want to change a financial situation, you don't focus on the fact that you've got this problem with your finances. You focus on what it's going to be like on the other side of having it fixed. What did you do? What's going on up there? That's cool. I need to know how she's doing that.
Who's up there showing me on Periscope? Thanks, guys. So I don't know what that's about. But Bob, I have a quick question. So as a hypnotherapist, a lot of people come to me about the resistance topic. And what you just mentioned, you know, they're focusing on their issues, they're focusing on what's going wrong. And I love the idea that it has to start with us. We have to embody the world, that divine idea of what we want the universe to be. It starts with us, and then we go out into the world and hopefully inspire others. How do we go from believing or thinking or hoping to knowing that resistance isn't real? Because 97% of my clients experience it to some degree, and we do work on the subconscious, and it's great. But is there like I don't know, just something you can share with us to switch that little flip in our mind to know that resistance is a man-made concept and we individually can overcome it?
Well, okay. So, but because we are man-making it, it is real in the fact that there is an energetic pattern going on. There's a particular frequency that we've locked into as a result of this belief and limitation. So we generate the reality of resistance. Okay.
So it's real and man-made.
Yes, like we are generating it. And I think the main thing about resistance is that we hang on to things. Like, you know, if we were really in the state of flow and a negative thing happens, we can notice it and make an adjustment. We don't have to think about it. We don't have to put meaning on it. We don't have to, you know, like go, that was a really negative thing. Like if we stub our toe or something like that, you know, we can go, oh, we're all ticked off about that and get stuck there. Or we can just go, okay, well, I need to move that thing and move on. Like we don't have to put so much judgment on things, but we've learned to do it. We've been conditioned to react sometimes in negative ways from parents or society or like we truly learn our behaviors from watching other people. And we don't really, we forget that we can actually not necessarily have a negative emotional reaction to something that lasts. We don't ever have to stay mad. We don't have to stay sad. You know, we don't have to hang on to those things, but we've learned that it's appropriate. Like, okay, well, I broke up with someone, so I should be sad at least for a month, but maybe I'm going to dwell on it for a year or so. Who knows? I don't know when I'm going to let it go. But that's a choice that you make based on your own experience and what you've learned about relationships and how sad you should be or how, but it is a choice. And so it is hard to tell somebody that when they're in it because it feels really, really, really real. So I think it's, you got to do something to change their state, to get them to get them present. A lot of it is just about getting present, because the only time that we can worry or fear or any of those things is if we're not present, because in the moment, everything's perfect. Right this moment, if we stay right here, there's nothing wrong. It's only when we project into the future or worry about the past that we create this problem. So with clients like that, who are really stuck, you got to work on getting them present. Give them any sort of tool to just get present. Like, look at something and describe it. There's all kinds of ways to get present. Am I present right now? You could ask yourself, am I present right now? And the answer is yes. Well, then you're present right there. Just something to get present, because you can't be in a state of stress and worry and fear when you're present.
And then the more people let this go quickly, the more that man-made concept begins to dissolve.
I didn't hear the first part of what you just said.
So the more quickly people can let those things go, the more quickly that man-made concept of resistance and struggle starts to dissolve as a whole.
Well, at least it doesn't have the same long-lasting impact. I mean, I think, we're human beings and we are designed to have these emotional reactions, negative and positive. Mm-hmm. It's just our choice. Well, how long are we going to hang on to this? What impact are we going to allow this to have? But to your point, the more that we learn to release resistance, whether it's through EFT or meditation or whatever, or just a decision in the moment, the more that we learn what that feels like, the more spontaneously we can do it. Like, we recognize it and we can just let it go. Recognize it, let it go. I mean, that, I think, is how we were designed to be. We're designed to be creation machines. And yes, things are going to come up that present little bits of challenges that show us that we need to adjust course somehow or the other. We don't have to hang on to it. So it just takes practice. We've been habituated into this way of thinking that's very limited and keeps us stuck and causes depression and fear and worry and anxiety. But we can unlearn it. But boy, we got to be committed to it. And that's why the vision that you have has to be that big, that it's worth going through whatever you got to go through to get there.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned how we always think about a time frame of how appropriate it is to be sad or mad. And I've had in the past couple months a lot of things happening in my life, and there's a lot of reasons that I can stay mad at someone, like a lot, because they keep on doing it. And I've had people that are close to me say, like, aren't you mad? Aren't you like upset at him? And I said, well, of course, but I need to move forward for me. That's why a lot of people talk about letting go and allowing yourself to forgive. You're forgiving for yourself, because if you're stuck in that negative state, it's hurting you. Yeah. And I found that my happiness has a direct correlation with my health. So if I allow something to affect me for a long period of time, I'll get really, really ill very, very quickly. So it's kind of like I have to create this like protective warrior bubble around me and say, like, okay, I need to forgive for myself. I need to move on from that moment and not let a bad moment create a bad day. But I love how you said that, because a lot of times it's like, no, I have to be mad for this amount of time because they need to know what they did is wrong, or whatever the situation may be.
Well, one of the things, and then I want to hear what Amrit has to say.
Yeah.
One of the things about, what did you say? You said choosing to be mad. Well, I forgot it. But there's a great point in there somewhere.
My happiness is a direct correlation.
Yeah, well, first of all, I was going to comment on, wow, you've really got some really interesting deal with yourself where your body just says, when you're off track, you just freaking get sick. Like, there's no way to ignore it. Like coming in death or whatever. Okay, time for a course correction, and other people, it's just a bad feeling. Oh, I know what I was going to say was one of the ways that you can stop yourself from dwelling in a thing is to be up to something. Like, if you've got a passion and a mission, something that you're going for, you don't have time to dwell, But if you're not up to something, if you're telling yourself why you can't go do all this stuff, then you got a lot of time to sit around and feel sorry for yourself and let those feelings of anger or resentment grow. But if you're up to something, you're out there contributing value, helping people, being your best, living inside your passion, you're just not going to have time or the bandwidth or the desire to hang on to the negative feeling.
I definitely agree. So, Amrit, is that how you pronounce your name?
Yes, Amrit. Okay. Hello. How are you?
Nice
Yeah,
to
well,
meet you.
introduce yourself.
This is awesome. First time on Blab, guys. So be
Awesome.
nice. But Bob, you know what? Awesome. It's really, really nice what you're saying about the law of attraction. You know, I've kind of read the book and kind of always seen the kind of detailed side of this. But what I'm going to talk to you guys about, and just a quick example before I have to go. Everyone in the office has left, and I'm by myself here. So before they lock me up, I'm going to talk about, take the relationship side out of it, but talk about being bullied. Now, this affects quite a lot. Now, my example was I went to school in a predominantly white area, and I was the only brown person in the whole school. So I stood out like a sore thumb, and I do pretty much still now, because in art and design places, I'm pretty much the only person with a turban and a beard. You stand out, which is a good thing. But when I was at school, I was skinny. I had no confidence. I didn't know really what to do with myself, right? And then bullies pick up on that. They can feel a sense. They can see someone who's weak and vulnerable, and they would attack you. So I got bullied for a few years, and then I had resentment. I had anger in me. I was like, you know what? Next time I see these bullies, I'm going to do whatever. I thought so much. But then it was like, luckily, my head of year was an RE teacher and also a physics teacher. So he kind of would take me to the side and just say, and he would talk about exactly what your book was about. And this was about 15, 20 years ago. He would say to me, he goes, Amrit, whatever you think about, that's exactly what's going to happen. If you're going to be negative and if you want really bad stuff to happen to this person, that's exactly what's going to happen. But you do not want bad stuff to happen to anyone, even your bully. So it took me a few years through school, 5 years at school, being bullied by the same people, telling these guys, telling the head of year, who kind of became my mentor, to see the positive side of stuff. Just see, like, you know what? I don't want any harm to come to these people, but I wish they didn't stop bullying me. And then it only clicked after I left school and I went to college and I started to get more confidence. I did martial arts, went up to black belt, and I started to kind of build my confidence. And I looked back and thought, if I didn't get bullied, would I be in the situation I am now? Now, I'm not saying bullying is nice, but what I'm thinking about, what I'm saying is that the universe is trying to tell you something. If you don't man up, all right, or get strong, or see confidence, or see positivity, I would have probably stayed as a skinny person with no confidence, not willing to chase my dreams for the rest of my life. So all these people were placed in my life for a reason, to kind of give me that bit of a kick up the ass, to say, you need to do something about this lack of confidence. You need to do something about the fact that you want to do so much, but you can't in the current state that you're in. And then, like, so the mentor kept telling me a few things. And what the funny story was, a few years later, probably 5 years later, I was walking down the street where the school was, and I saw the three of the bullies walking towards me. Now, I looked very different to when I was at school. I didn't have a turban back then anyway. So they recognized me. I recognized them straight away. And I looked at them, and so many emotions came through my head. I was like, oh, man, if I was 5 years ago, I would have ready just to beat them up, because I am. But I looked at them, and I took out my hand and I went like that. And they thought I was going to punch them, so they ducked. But I actually shook their hand, and they were shocked. They're like, what's this guy doing? He's shaking their hand. We remember bullying this guy for nearly 5 years. And they didn't understand why I shook their hand. But I had to explain to them, I go, look, yes, what you did at school was horrible. But in a way, it kind of made me the person I am now, because of the confidence of that wanting to do so much more than the person that I was at school. So it made me get confidence. It made me work out. It made me get stronger. It made me get to the stage that I am now. And it's kind of interesting thinking about all these people that are placed like in your life. And you might not understand it 10, 15, 20 years ago. I had no idea. I just hated these people. And then afterwards, everything all clicked, and it all just formed really nicely into one little package. And thinking, you know what? It makes sense now. It makes a lot of sense. So I think that's what I took from your book, and I just thought I'd quickly share it with you guys before I go.
Well, thank you, Amrit. And wow, what a gift that mentor was for you. I mean, that placement of that individual in your life could have made the whole difference. You could be in a completely different place, and that you were receptive and open and listening. Yeah. And that you took that action. And so that you're to be commended for that, because not everybody does that. We all get these opportunities to go this way. And a lot of times, because of whatever the situation is or our level of resistance, we will say no thank you, basically, to the universe. and create an entirely different path for ourselves. So we're all fortunate that you took the path that you did.
Yeah,
Because we can tell, your energy is just amazing, the way that it comes off and the smile and all that. It's just really, really amazing that, yes, you took that situation and turned it into something that I think you're probably just getting started in your contribution to the planet. So I think, yes, it is unfortunate. The bullying is, I have kids too, and I've had experiences with that. It's a terrible thing, but it is an opportunity, just like everything else. What are you going to do with this? And that mentor was there for you to point you into a direction that was way more productive. So that's something to be grateful for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
No, I'm off, but I will definitely catch you guys later on. But thank you for this awesome lecture.
You're part of the global meditation scope, right?
Yes, I'll be leading one tomorrow about art and how to overcome the fear of nothing and turn it into something, but through art. So a lot of us have a creative block. So how do we turn a blank piece of paper and turn it into something? So that's my scope tomorrow.
Awesome.
Fun.
What time tomorrow?
It's 7:30 UK time or 2:30 Eastern Standard Time, I think.
Okay. So you guys can follow him on Periscope. There's his handle right up on top. But thank you so much for
Thank you very much. You guys are awesome. Have an awesome evening.
You too. Bye.
Good one. Followed him just to the last second.
He's great. So I have a couple questions here from my Periscope people.
Yeah, hold on one second. I know there was some questions on here that we passed up for a second. Courtney, I think she's still on here. She asked, "What do you guys think about Abraham Hicks?"
I saw that question.
Yeah, if you wanna.
I'll answer first if you want. I think that their material is amazing. There's I'm a big believer in channeling, all of those things. Because it's all just communication from the universe. I am on the fence. The jury is out on, for me, in terms of is there an entity with a name and all of this, or is it just information and this is how they process it or whatever? I will only state as fact what I know. And if I don't have science behind something where I can point to, there's this cluster of whatever that they haven't named, then I'll say, well, I totally am on board with getting information from the universe because you're in alignment with wanting to receive it. That's when I first started my program. There was a lot I did not know, but I decided who I was going to be in this whole conversation was somebody who could communicate these principles in a powerful way to as many willing minds as possible. That's what my intention was. And when I stepped into being that, not like I'll be that one day, but I am that now, the downloads just started. So instead of, making tapes and filling rooms and sharing that message, I just typed like crazy, and I put that information into my, into my programs or whatever. But I think I love the way Esther communicates these principles. However, it's whatever is going on behind it. To me, I definitely believe that that she's right. It's right. It's good information and there's humor and all that. So I'm a fan, although I don't go to the workshops and all that stuff. But whenever I read anything or see something on YouTube, I'm inspired because the information is absolutely solid and their way of communicating, answering very difficult questions, I really like. They take the time, they give examples, they get you involved. I think it's really, really a powerful way. And what I've seen over the years is it just gives people peace. They listen to Abraham and it makes them feel good. It brings them into a great vibrational space. So I think that alone makes their contribution on this planet extremely powerful. It brings these principles, and it's kind of like what The Secret did in a different way. It brings these kind of principles into a practical conversation that you can actually use and implement, and people just love that, and they should. Anybody who can make this stuff livable. My only caveat with that is that I see some people, and this isn't just Abraham, it's any sort of, when you put somebody up here, they know so much more or whatever, constantly needing the guru for the information. My whole goal is to empower people to get this to the level that I get it, so that they can go out there and just live it and not be dependent on having to listen to me every week or, what I mean? It's just I want people to be empowered with this stuff and not have to look up to, I think it's great that there are teachers and gurus and obviously I I make a living with this stuff. So it's not like I want nobody to want a teacher, but I am saying that I don't like people to be dependent or like starstruck or, like you're so much better than me. And I see some of that with the Abraham conversation where they put Esther way up here. Like I could never know all that stuff. So I need to go and listen to her. And it's not just her. It's lots of people who put people into those positions. Am I making sense here?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So
Yeah,
I thought, or I had this, like, I guess it would be a thought when I was meditating that we are all our own guru. It was not until I was able to listen to myself and my own intuition that I was able to heal my body, heal my whole life. So of course I look up to people and I get information from them, but in reality, you are your own guru. You know what's best for you. And if you can tap into that, that's when I feel like you can flourish with all your ideas and all your creativity. And the way to learn from others is, and learning from others is great, because I always say collaboration versus competition. But in the long run, I think you need to find yourself internally and be your own guru, because only you know what's best for you. That's why, like, no diet works for everyone. Everyone's so different with all the DNA. And that's the same, like, from this conversation, you may take some things that you think will work for you and leave the rest, and that's totally fine. Yeah. You have to apply what is right for you. And
the other thing I'll say is, and then I'll stop talking for a minute, is that, you talk about you being your own guru. We are, everyone who's ever heard Abraham or any of these people, they have to realize that they brought that information into their life. They powerfully manifested Abraham and that information into their life, because they put out to the universe a desire to have an understanding or to whatever it is. So they brought themselves into alignment, or they met someone who told them about Abraham, but that they are the originator of that, whether they did it consciously or not. So you truly are your own guru. You request to the universe in whichever way you do it, whether you use words or a feeling or whatever. I want this information. I desire to have this information. And then it shows up. You did that. Abraham didn't come forcing their way into your life and saying, you're going to listen to me now, right? It's just, you invited that. So that's just pointing back to the power that you have to bring in whatever information about anything that you need.
Yeah, a lot of people on my Periscope channel tell me, I'm so happy I found you. And I said, well, I am a direct reflection of you or what you need. So in a sense, it empowers you, like, wow, like, I manifested this. It's for a reason. And the same thing, like, they're in my life for a reason. We're a direct reflection for each other. Just like Grace. Like, I met Grace through Periscope. We live so close, and now I can see us doing amazing things together. I attracted you, Grace.
I attracted you. It's awesome. And just this technology that we have right now, and what Sky said before about, she was speaking about you last night, Bob, and here you are. It's really allowing, just as you said, the universe can manifest instantly, but now we can see it instantly. We don't have to believe it or know it necessarily. We're seeing it more and more. But my favorite phrase from Abraham Hicks is, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking. And when I read that, I was like, that's the whole thing. A belief is just a thought you keep thinking. So if I have a belief in myself that I'm not capable of this, or I'm not worthy of this, or I'm not good enough for that, I can just change the thought I'm thinking over and over and over again, and the belief will change. As a result, the actions will change, the habits will change, my whole life will change. And so in that way, I'd say they have drastically changed the trajectory of my life with that one phrase.
Yeah, and along those lines, one of my favorite things from them was, basically it's the same statement, but it's about being stuck. You're not really stuck, because everything's always moving, But if you're stuck, it's just that you're having the same thought over and over and over again. So it's basically the same. It's a different aspect of that same thing, and the belief is the same thought. But if you believe you're stuck, if you keep telling everybody, I'm just stuck, well, if you stop saying that, that would be a good first step.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Sky.
Hi, I just wanted to pop back on because I do have a question, okay? Like, we all don't live these perfect lives. We all strive to be better, and we all go through life. I have a question. When I feel like I'm in alignment, like when I'm going through transition, which I am right now, and I feel like in flow and everything is absolutely perfect, but it isn't necessarily about my career. Like it's not actually tangible making me money. I do struggle with that because, and I just wondered if anyone had any insight on that, because, you know, I'm a really driven person and I have other ways of making money, but I really listen to my intuition when I'm going after like what I feel here, right? What feels right and what is calling to me. Like when Periscope came on, I felt like it was a game changer and it would change my life. But you know, it's not necessarily the most tangible business plan right now, but I feel like I'm at my best self. Does that make sense? When I'm doing this kind of stuff, like Blab and like Periscope and talking about all this stuff, but a lot of it's just like it's a vibration. It's not necessarily like a business plan. And I am kind of structured in my life when it comes to business. So maybe I'm just afraid of letting go. I don't know. Any feedback on that?
Yeah. I would follow it. I would follow that feeling because I definitely see, I've built my entire company from social media alone since high school. And I definitely see that Blab and Periscope and Meerkat or whatever live streaming, they're game changers. And so you may not be able to make money now, which there are ways, but a lot of money, so to say.
Yeah, like a major living, like we're talking like, you know, $500,000 or something like that.
Well, so think of it as a free marketing tool, right? If you're a startup, then you have a lot of money to market your business. Like I didn't have any money. So I used social media. And now, you know, I know people that are selling their programs and books and products like crazy because they can be transparent. They can be themselves. People can see the person behind the brand. People always want to follow people versus brands. So I really think that you should follow that. And when you are at your best self doing this, because I feel the exact same way, that's what's going to ignite more ideas, more creativity to apply in other parts of your business. Because like, same thing, law of attraction. When you are at your best self, that's when amazing things come into your path and align with you.
Yes, I totally agree with you. Like what I'm trying to say is I'm a clothing designer. I'm successful with it online. I know all the tricks and the strategies. I've been doing it for 11 years. And I definitely can see like with the webinar, you know, I had over 100 people sign up to my webinar. I've definitely made money from doing this and I can see the potential. And I agree with you, Alexa. And I think the issue is for me, it's like time. I am so inspired every day to create content for Periscope, for programs. I'm like seriously pumped, but I have a fear. Obviously, that's my weakness. I have a fear of like jumping off the cliff and like just saying, this is what I do now. And it just seems so sudden because it's literally happened to me in the last 2 months where things are just I'm so inspired in a completely different way, like digital marketing, like all this other stuff that I didn't even guess this would happen to me in my life. Like literally, I've been designing on a computer for over 11 years. You know what I mean? Like I didn't think I'd be here talking to you guys, you know, like it's almost like a little overwhelming in a way to me because when I jump on something, it's like crazy. Like I can't deny it. I can't say this isn't happening, you know, like I can't push it down. It has to happen. So, yeah.
Can I ask you, what are you afraid of when you said you were there?
Well, I'm afraid of the you know, the security with my clothing business. I mean, I'm getting really vulnerable here telling everybody because how many people are here? 22. I'm getting worried about the security, the identity of being a clothing designer, like a lot of stuff. I mean, I wanted to be a designer when I was 8 years old. I've obviously like expanded with the whole digital thing and tech thing and all that stuff. Like with technology, it's kind of hard not to grow with the times. So, yeah.
So let's go back to the fear of your identity as a fashion designer. So I guess that would stem from maybe you thinking that people won't accept you as a fashion designer or that you won't be accepted into the industry. But let me ask you this, is that fact or fiction?
It's all fiction. I know it's my own thoughts. And I know this is something that, you know, I feel like I could do really well. And I feel more in alignment with this than I ever have in my whole life. Like literally, like I just feel, and I'm, you know, I'll tell you, I'm in my late 30s. So I'm obviously at that time in my life where, you know, I'm probably going to change anyway. Like it's probably natural to be, you know, on this kind of changing path or whatever, want to call it. But yeah, I always think about this kind of stuff, you know, like, because I do believe in the law of attraction. My whole life has sort of been built on that, like believing and being it. But there's that little glitch in the system for me. Yeah.
Well, let me, you know, it is our light that scares us more than our darkness. Like that.
Exactly.
And I think the same way. And how that helps, how I overcome that feeling of being scared of like the light, you know, of accomplishing what I've always accomplished. Because most of the time we're scared because we think that if we go after it and then we fail, we don't have that anymore. And that's our light. But that's not true at all. But what I feel is I focus on the desire and the feeling of accomplishing what I'm working towards. So even though I'm scared of the light, even though I'm scared of what may happen, how my life will dramatically change, I think about the different feelings. If I stay in this limbo state or if I go after it, what is that feeling like? And that feeling always trumps the fear.
The pain. Yeah. Focus on the pain to get out of it and into the good. Yeah. Yeah. I try to do that too. Definitely. I agree with you on that.
So one of my teachers, they use this parable that for some reason, humanity has been programmed over time. If you imagine there's a person and they're standing in a pile of mud and they're dirty and they're gross and they're in a pile of mud, but they've been in this pile of mud for 10 years. So it kind of feels like home. They've gotten used to it, right? And someone comes along and says, there's a fresh pair of clothes.
I love it.
Spring and a beautiful waterfall. All you have to do is head in that direction. You can even feel it pulling you towards it. And they're like, but I can't see it. You know, some people will stay in the mud and it's right there. So you're
I saw the video. You should do a video of that, like in the mud.
And, you know, it's, and you've been a great fashion designer and you've loved it. So it's not exactly the same. It wasn't mud, but you're getting that feeling that the fresh pair of clothes, the spring, the waterfall is over there. And you trust it because you've had success before when you trusted your intuition.
Yeah, it's true. I know. I need to trust it. I need to trust it. It's so true. I think it is based on trusting. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, thanks, guys. I'm going to hop off and let someone else. I just wanted, that was sort of an afterthought because I was on earlier. Like, I'm going back on and I have to ask. So.
Oh, thank you so much, Sky. You're good. Just keep on going. Keep on
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Alexa, do you have a lot of people who want to pop on? Because I can hop off. I've been monopolizing for a while.
Right now the seat's open, so
okay.
Stay on. Yeah, so someone on my Periscope channel, they asked you, Bob, how do you create habits that keep you on that positive note? Like, what are some habits that will help you? Because obviously it's so easy to get off track with one little thing that goes wrong. So are there any habits that have helped you?
Yeah, I think really it is that if there's anything you want to habitually do, it is to check back in with your vision and why. Why must I do? Like, get into when you wake up in the morning or whatever. It's like, you know, what am I about today? What's happening today? Whatever, and why am I doing this? I don't know. It's just because a lot of people, and I have totally been guilty of this. You, depending on what's going on in my life, you wake up and the first thing you think of is what's going to go wrong today, or what went wrong yesterday, or what are the problems I have to solve, or whatever. And that's a habit. And you're wired that way. And so changing that habitual way of thinking is some of the hardest stuff you can do, because it truly is wiring. I mean, you're wired to think the way that you do. But we do have neuroplasticity. We can change that wiring, but it takes that persistence. And the reason and the way that you know, the challenges that we have with that persistence can be overcome a few ways. First of all, is knowing why are you overcoming? And again, that whole why must I do this? And also to have some accountability, you know, have a coach or have a accountability team or somebody to keep you habitually thinking in this new way, because a lot of times when we're just doing it on our own, it's just all too easy just to go back to the old way of thinking. But even just one person who you respect or share a common goal with, or whatever, whoever that person is, if they have that kind of impact in your life, it can make, you know, all the difference. And it's fun to support each other and see each other get through just one more day, take 18 more days, and this is a habit, whatever. But oops, sorry. We're back. It is just it takes that persistence and consistency, but the only way you're going to be driven through that is, you know, why you're doing it. Because if you forget that for any reason, if you diminish the importance of where you're going in any way. You'll take a day off, you'll find a reason to think a negative thought. It's just, it really is, it's all about why are you doing this? And it's such a fundamental thing, who we are and what we're here to do, what our passions are. Like when we're kids, it's right there. We know exactly what to do. We know where we want to do, who we want to play with, what games we want to play. We know what we love to do. It's all very clear. And it gets muddled over the course of time in our school system and everything until we become young adults and middle-aged people who are just so confused with options and so many different limiting beliefs that, the habit of thinking positively is just long gone. And the idea that we can have whatever we want or do whatever we want or be whatever we want, or that it's actually more responsible to follow your passion than to not, that's all just clouded. And so we're in a time now where, and personal development's been around for a while, but I feel like it's escalating. I think we can all agree that there does seem to be a consciousness shift happening. This type of information is getting out there more and more. More people are considering it who would never have done it before, like me. Mm-hmm. So we're in the right direction, but finding groups like this, having group conversations, like banding together, and not trying to be islands. I think people watch The Secret and they thought, okay, well, I'm a one-man show and I'll just do this by myself. But there's 7 billion, 8 billion people on the planet for a reason. We're here to work together, to find one another, to help support each other, whether that's through accountability or actual physical support or just however it is. If we can do more of creating communities online and in person, that's going to help so that we're all not just out in our own little world. Because if we are surrounded by people like we talked about before, who are negative Nellies or whatever, or who were in alignment with how we were, it's just too challenging sometimes for us to keep the strength and momentum going without some kind of support system. So things like this, regular conversations like this, Facebook groups, whatever, however you can meet with other people who are in the same conversation, have the same goals, have similar struggles, who are in different areas of the path. Oh, I was there, here's how I got through it, that kind of thing. It makes the process so much faster and more efficient and fun.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's why I say, everyone says you are as strong as the 5 people that you hang around the most with. And now with technology, if you go to a job and everyone's negative and you come home and your house is negative, you actually can connect with people online now, like face to face. So that's why every single day when I go on Periscope, I do something positive. I help people get into a positive mindset, especially with my morning motivations every morning, because I want to be that person that supports, all my viewers. And I tell them that if you need that support, if you need that mindset change, where to find me. I'll have a Periscope that's live or on a replay. And then we even created a Facebook group, but it is so, so important to have that community of support. Like you said, so important.
Yeah. It's been really neat too on our channel that people have actually seen the neuroplasticity taking place, the changes in the brain, because every day when we do our meditation, we start with a stress scale. And anybody who's done my meditations who's here can chat in the box and, share if you've had an experience like this. But they'll say, 0 is 0 stress, no stress at all, the most relaxed you can be, and 10 would be a panic attack. And so let's say people are starting at a 7 or an 8. And then by the end of the meditation, we have them, it's really kind of a combination of self-hypnosis and meditation. By the end of it, they put their final number and how much they've decreased their stress. So there's that in front of them. In 10 minutes or less, they've completely changed their state. They're feeling wonderful. But the coolest part is over time, and I've only been doing this about a month, people are coming in and instead of starting at a 7 and an 8, they're starting at a 5 and a 4. Because over time, they have now reprogrammed their minds and their bodies and their state to be more relaxed in general. And it's a really, really neat shift that's happening. So the people who've been with me for a month are starting to coach the new people and are saying, stick with it and keep coming back, because you're going to see these long-term results that play out way beyond just the 10 minutes we hang out together in Periscope. So it's been amazing. And it's only a month and everybo's all over the world. It's so exciting.
That is really cool. I love the fact that you've so almost like got analytics.
Exactly. Yeah.
Of the neuroplasticity. I think that's super cool. Awesome.
Really neat. Yeah.
So does anybody want to jump on, ask a question, or tell us your story of how, the law of attraction has affected your life? feel free to jump on.
Periscope asked for you and Alexa, and they would love your input too, Bob. When you were saying for Alexa about the link between your health and your thoughts, someone was like, oh my God, can thinking negatively make me sick? So this is a new concept to people. And they were kind of freaking out about it. So they'd love to know both of your thoughts on that further.
So
clearly Alexa can address that.
I definitely think negative thinking can make you sick. I mean, it brought me all the way from up here living like an amazing life to one thing that really affected me and took me to a downward spiral to the point where I was induced into a medical coma, given a 1% chance of living, to then positively thinking, okay, I'm alive, and then having that past experience change my life to where I viewed it as a negative thing, that it brought me way back down again. I ended up having, almost being in the hospital again. And like in the past 2 years, really just focusing on getting healthy because I was so unhealthy, and it was because of my mind. And it was not until I said to myself, I'm going to heal myself through the power of my thoughts, because I know how I did it in the coma, that I was able to transform my life. So to give you the best example I could give you, I was in a coma. I was in the ICU for 10 days, in the coma for 6. And they told my mom twice, within the next 24 hours, we'll know if she lives or not. Okay. Nothing was working. No, they had 9 different bags of antibiotics pumping into me, and nothing was working. And I remember my thoughts while I was in the coma, even when I was out of the coma, I couldn't move, breathe, or speak on my own, but I had my mind. And I remember picturing my mind to be this pure, healthy pink, and the rest of my body was black and rotting away. And it was because sepsis was killing all of my organs. And I would push down this pure pink color to the rest of my body to try to heal it. And I would push with every ounce of energy I had left. And within a couple of days, I was discharged from the hospital. Right. And then, so I really, really believe that. But then it was so easy to have this, to go back into negativity world. And that's when I developed post-traumatic stress, because I was living in fear, so afraid that I was going to get that sick again. I had to move home from New York City to gain the support from my family, and I lost friends from it. It was a very hard time. And it was not until I stepped out of the victim mode and said, I need to take control of my life. And yes, this experience changed my life, but no experience is ever wasted. And I experienced this for a reason. This didn't happen to me, it happened for me. And even today, I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease, non-curable, but I've been able to manage it because I've seen, what the power of thoughts can do. And when something negative happens in my life, my body quickly shows me, like literally, the last 2 weeks, something negative happened that was part of someone that's really close to my heart. So of course it's going to affect me, right? If someone that you love is sad or going through something, it's going to affect you. And I got sick, and I'm just recovering from that illness. And of course, all my illness is internal, so nobody can really see the scars. But I've had to really focus and do meditation and mindset practices to change my thoughts in order to stay healthy. It's really a life or death thing. And that's why I teach so much about the power of positive thinking, because it can make or break your life, I think.
So the answer to your question is clearly yes.
Yeah. Yes.
A positive thought per day keeps the doctor away.
I mean, I won't dwell on this for a long time, but if you guys are familiar with Masaru Emoto's water experiments, and the impact that thoughts and things like that can have on just the structure of water, of which we are 70+%. When you look at his studies and see what happens with just thoughts and intention, with water by itself, you will see the implications of what that can do to your body, and how that kind of thinking prolonged will absolutely have an impact on the structure of you physically. So health and all of those things. I mean, when I started studying emotional freedom technique to implement that into our program as part of a release technique, I learned a whole different level of how emotions affect our health. and how there's many, many doctors who believe that 95% of illnesses and disease are emotionally related. So it's all about the feelings that we're carrying around, the beliefs that we're carrying around. What do we keep telling ourselves? It has a real impact. And so, and so yes, absolutely. By changing the way that you think, you can absolutely change how the literally the physical structure of your body, and then and by doing so, induce a more healthy state on an ongoing basis. So it's definitely something. If that's something that you're concerned about, I would definitely start looking into it. Listen to what Alexa has to say. Study Dr. Emoto's work a little bit. Learn about EFT and that type of thing, so that you can start to release. If you know you have chronic negativity, just know that yes, it is having some level of impact. Doesn't mean you're going to develop cancer necessarily or anything like that. But I mean, look, just in an intuitive way, you know that if you have negative feelings, you physically feel worse than when you have positive feelings. So you can feel it in your body anyway. When you have a negative feeling, the way you know it's negative is the way that you feel. Your body produces these chemicals, you have physical sensations, so you know it has an impact. So imagine if you're constantly feeding it this negative chemistry and all of that, how your body is going to respond. So yeah, it's definitely something to keep in check. You don't want to become one of those people. I'll just say this as a period to that sentence. A lot of times people identify them. People tell them they're negative or they're angry or they're curmudgeon-y or they're sarcastic, whatever they get labeled this way, and they take it on as their identity to the extent where it's like, well, if I let go of this negative way of thinking, who would I even be? And so they get actually scared of releasing this negativity because it's become such a part of their identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Of course it does. Of course it makes sense. And so, but what will pull a person through that? Like, who will they be? Well, you get to decide that. Who do you want to be? If you don't if you're not thrilled, it may be comfortable in that uncomfortable way of being this angry person or this depressed person or this negative person because it's familiar. You know how to do that. So there's a certain amount of comfort there. So the idea of taking that away is scary because you don't know what the next person is. So what is the next incarnation of you? What would you like it to be? Would you like to wake up and be more positive? What would that look and feel like? And I'll tell you from experience that when you start imagining that, it's going to feel really uncomfortable. It's going to feel like, well, I'm not that person. I'm this person. I'm this negative person. Do you want to be that negative person? No. All right, then you have the choice. And yes, it's going to feel uncomfortable to imagine yourself, being exuberant and laughing and being free of these habitual negative thoughts. But if you can create a vision that is compelling enough and say, wow, my life would be so much better like that way. You get to try it on, get to embody those feelings. It will be challenging at first, but you keep at it because you know that this isn't like, if you can be like Alexa, she has no choice, right? If she gets in that negative, she feels like her body starts to shut down. So she has to do something like that. We don't all have that level of correction, but we do know, well, life isn't working for me. I'm not happy. Like that should be enough to let you go. Well, so what's the opposite of that or whatever? How would you really like to be? Who's a model of somebody out there in the world who has the attitude and the love for life or the happiness level that you would like? If you can't generate it in yourself, look at somebody else to use as a model. But you can absolutely create a whole new version of you. And yes, it's going to be uncomfortable at first, but it's that whole, what is it costing me not to do that? Like you really got to honestly look at that and assess, what is it costing me to not go through that comfort zone, to be the happy, the abundant, the exuberant, the funny, the silly person that I'm not allowing myself to be because this is comfortable.
Bob, when you guys first started today, did you talk at all about what your life was like before you started studying this and what it's like now? Because I think people, even if they've seen The Secret, would love to hear that if you have the time to share.
I didn't talk at great length. I mean, what led me to the law of attraction initially was a series of unfulfilling career choices, because I grew up always knowing that I was going to go into radio. I was going to be an announcer like my dad, right? Because I watched his career and I said, absolutely, I'm on board. That's what I want.
You have a great voice for it.
Yeah, look at all your gear. Let's
go. Yeah. I use it now for sure. But once I got into radio, after a few years of it, I was really disillusioned because it wasn't the creative outlet I always thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to allow me to be me and be creative and do voices and be silly and funny and all those other things, which I was able to do in my first radio job because it was a very small town and they didn't care because no one was listening. I didn't know that at the time, but anyway, I got to have a playground. But then I moved to Atlanta, which is major market. I worked for a major, Cox Broadcasting, which is huge. And at that level, I didn't have that kind of creativity. It was pretty much, here's what you're going to say, here's what you're going to do. And so my whole dream of being able to be fully self-expressed just was crushed. And that sort of shook me a little bit. You know, it's like, I've known since I was 12 years old what I want to do with my life. And here I am 22 and I don't want to do this. Like, what am I going to do? So I moved from there to computers and learned about multimedia computing and graphics and things like that. Wrote some music here and there. I tried all kinds of different things, you know, but I felt really lost. Like, I've always known what I wanted to do. And now I'm feeling like I don't know. But then all those little choices I made of careers gave me this experience, which now I'm actually incorporating in everything I'm doing now. You know, I learned about computers, I learned about video editing, I learned about the internet, I learned about, you know, streaming audio and then eventually video. And now, of course, we've got this. So all those little jobs that weren't the one actually have contributed to, like, without them, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing. You know what I mean? So it's like trusting. In retrospect, I can trust the process. But along that path, there was one consistent thing, and that was that I could not hang on to money at all. And my last corporate job was the closest I ever came to making six figures out in the real world. Had a young family, six figures where I lived, I should have been fine. I should have been just fine. But still, I had like close to $70,000 worth of debt and all of these other things. And no matter how much I made, it was always gone. And so those were some of the questions I was asking myself, like, given that I've got this situation, it's a good situation, why is my money situation showing up like this? And it wasn't until I started learning about the concept of wealth consciousness, the law of attraction, energy, quantum physics, the physics of our thought, that I was able to say, okay, now I understand. Because subconsciously, my experience of life growing up in a single parent home where my mother was a school teacher and made no money was that money's hard to come by. There's never enough. You're always in debt. And it doesn't matter whether you like what you do or not. You just got to make a paycheck. So that was my example. That's what, like, I wasn't consciously thinking those things, but that was my life. And so that energy had a very strong hold on what was possible for me in terms of success or making money or holding on to it or growing it or any of that stuff. But recognizing it was the key. Seeing that, oh, I see, I've got these beliefs, like owning that. Now they're out of the darkness and into the light, and I have a choice. I have a choice about how I'm going to think. And so I started doing all the typical law of attraction stuff, you know, like vision boards, but they were on my computer screen, you know, changing the numbers on my bank statement so that they weren't in a negative, but in fact were like these huge things. Yeah. And at first it was kind of laughable, but after a while you start to condition your mind to, well, this is possible. I can see myself doing this. I did all this. I went to test drive a car that I had no ability to afford, but I got in there and I felt like what it was going to feel like. We shopped for homes that were way impossible to purchase at that point in terms of, you know, reality in that day. However, if I didn't know what abundance felt like, how was I ever going to get into that vibrational alignment? If I didn't really step into it and experience this home or experience this car as my own, if even for a moment, to be able to have that feeling. Now you go through all kinds of stuff, you know, in your head, like, oh, I feel like I'm wasting these people's times, or this is silly, this is never going to work. But I can tell you, I got the car, I got the home, it all worked, yeah. You know? And so, so those basics work, but I also had that understanding of the science behind it. So it wasn't like this blind leap of faith. Like, I knew that if I energetically changed myself, that my reality would change. Like, I knew it. I didn't believe it. I knew it because I had gotten myself that scientific foundation of what this is all about. And that for me was key. But I went from really, really struggling to creating a business that was generating 7 figures in just a few years. And that was a radical, like, I never would have seen that coming.
Wow.
That's amazing.
So the scientific foundation piece, because I think 90% of the people who are interested in the law of attraction are focusing on a blind leap of faith. Mm-hmm. How do you suggest the everyday layperson without, you know, an undergrad in physics to get the scientific basis, or can we just learn it from you?
Well, you can learn it from me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I have a ton of information. I mean, I have free stuff. I have paid programs. I have a program that's all about the quantum physics. It's a 3-part webinar about really dig in. And it's conducted by a quantum physicist. It's not conducted by me because I'm not a quantum physicist, you know, and you don't have to be a quantum physicist to make this work. I really want that clear, but just enough of an understanding where you can say, okay, I got it. You know, I don't have to understand all the hows, but I see that it is true.
So where do we get that webinar? How can we find it? I'll type it in the chat.
So that's a really great question. The best way to actually just start engaging with me at all is boundlessliving.com. If you go to boundlessliving.com, there's a lot of information about me. There's links to all sorts of free stuff like my YouTube channel and Periscope, all that stuff, how we can stay in contact. Facebook groups where there's lots of information too. But the actual programs themselves, I basically roll out to you. Like I don't come out of the gate selling at you. Come to Boundless Living, get to know me a little bit. There's a free meditation you can download that actually incorporates EFT and visualization. It leads I've got several different programs that address the science at different levels.
Great.
Let me just type this in real quick.
Yeah, type it into the comments. And if anybody has a question that they want to jump on, we have an open seat. Feel free to come and ask your questions or share your story.
And somewhere, if I could just remember where, it's been so long, I do have a free, so that thing I did with the quantum physicist, the 3-part thing, we did a free version that's like an introduction. And if I could just remember how to tell you how to get there, wouldn't that be awesome? But yes. I don't remember.
I want to see it. It sounds so good.
But, so yeah, well, I'll figure it out.
Okay.
I'll figure it out somehow. I'll figure it out.
Someone was jumping on, but I think it kicked them out. Try to call in again.
How to manifest faster. My people on Periscope want to know. They're like, please ask Bob how to manifest faster. I know you spoke about timing before and how it limits us, but they're dying to know.
Well, it's all about resistance. I mean, the speed with which you manifest is all about the level of resistance you have. It doesn't necessarily mean you have some debilitating, limiting belief, but there's some area of resistance. You have an expectation of how long it might take. You want it fast, but you don't really believe it'll happen fast. It's too good to be true to be fast. It's really about eliminating the more you can detach from a timetable, I believe, the faster it can come to you, because now you're not putting any sort of energetic limitation on it whatsoever. It can become really super fast. It can take its time. It's really just trusting that here's the thing. You've got a vision for something you want to manifest. And ideally, it's like the perfect version of it. Like everything is right. To enjoy this manifestation, it also means that this is in place and this is in place. Like we get really myopic sometimes and go, well, if I just had the money, yeah, but what about the relationship? Where are you living with this money? Like I'm all about the big picture vision and not just the little thing, because sometimes, and it happens a lot, people actually focus on wanting something that actually would not be able to coexist with this other thing that they're saying they're wanting, or they're attached to this specific result and this one. But think about it. Could this and this really work together? And a lot of times the answer is no. So the more clear you are on the big vision and why and all the little elements of it and how it's going to make you feel, that's going to speed up the manifestation process too. So
say I have my vision, right? I know exactly what I want to manifest. I have a knowing that I'm going to get there. What's the first step?
Knowing you've got the vision, knowing you're going to get there. Well, it's moving yourself into that. So there's the knowing you're going to get there. So what does that feel like? Because it's the feeling, it's the emotion that shifts the vibration. So it's like if you have a vision board and you look at it and you have no emotional response to it, it's impotent. It's not doing anything. The vision board is designed to bring you into an emotional state that is in alignment with you having this now. So when you have that vision, you want to do whatever you can to get into vibrational alignment with having it now, whether that's intentionally sitting down and closing your eyes and visualizing, going out there and living as if. Like I often tell people, like, okay, so what's your vision? And we get their vision and say, what aspect of that vision could you be living right now that you're not? Like it could be a diet component, or it could be, it could be any number of things that people think like they're waiting for something to show them that they can do it. And a lot of times there's aspects of their vision that they could step into right now. They could, a way of being, a habit that they could do that is in alignment with that. So they bring themselves physically into alignment with their vision right now, but not in the future. Like they could actually step into it. So it's about, as a coach or whatever, really dissecting, well, what are all the components of your vision? And I'll do this with my clients. I'll say, well, could you do this part right now? Could you do this today? And then they go, well, yeah, I guess I could do that today. And then could you do this? Like if they have a business, for example, I say, why don't you go ahead and print up business cards, do a brochure, see, like make it real, start to make it, and all that stuff can change. But like, if you are really this now, that means you'd have business cards, right? That means you would have a brochure. That means you would be planning your event. That means you would be creating a product. Why can't you be doing that stuff now? What is it that you're waiting for? And a lot of times they just don't realize that they're waiting for no reason. So the more real you can make that now, the better. So yeah, start to create them. This is clearly a business conversation, but you can do this in all sorts of different areas. What can you be doing now that you're not doing that person who you say you want to be will be doing, right? Because you're trying to create a new version of yourself. What is that person going to do today that you're not doing today that you could very easily do today?
Awesome. Hi, Raven.
Hi, Raven. I got in by accident.
Oh.
You tripped and fell, and now you're on this.
Yeah.
Well, I actually need to run, everyone. I have a client at 2 p.m., but I want to thank you, Bob. I want to thank you, Alexa. This was so awesome. Thank you, everybody who jumped over here for a meditation. Hopefully, I'll be able to come back and hang out with you guys again.
Thank you, Grace. It was really nice meeting you. All right, bye.
Well, Raven, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how the law of attraction is...
I love the law of attraction. Absolutely. Hopefully you guys can hear me. I actually jumped on by accident. I was at the doctor's office. That is so funny. You got to be careful with this thing. My husband just downloaded it to the iPhone, and I just wanted to listen to Bob, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm on camera. That law of attraction, I wanted to connect with Bob, so I guess I attracted the law of attraction by bouncing in.
You did. You're in here.
I love the law of attraction. It changed my life. Okay. I got to pop back out. I'll pop back in later. They're calling me at the doctor, okay? But I do have a huge story about law of attraction and changed my life from the hospital. So I'll be back. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah, so one thing about Blab is that I'm so used with Periscope to being able to read the comments really easily in the stream, so I can see them and comment. And doing just this, is difficult. I've missed so many of the comments. It doesn't have that level of interactivity, so I feel like I'm missing stuff.
Yeah, well, the good thing is you can scroll through it, so if you miss something, you can always go back. But yes, thank you, Randy, and thank you, Lynn, for popping on both Periscope and Blab. And hi, Josh.
Hello. What's going on?
Talking about the law of attraction.
Yeah, I love the law of attraction. I have like all these little things like on my wall, like law of attraction, focus, believe, and I look at it every day, and it's like sometimes I tell people, write down why you're write a list on why you're happy, write a list on why you're grateful, and look at that list every day. Like I am grateful for this, and this. I'm happy because that, and that. And if you look at that every day, and you can just grow from being that, like when you wake up, you're automatically in a much better positive mindset. Your day is already clicked in a much better way. Maybe you'll have a bad day as soon as you wake up, but as soon as you write down those goals and you actually look at why you're happy, that's you're already attracting positive energy. You're already doing the right thing. It's very simple. People don't think it's that. It's not always easy, but if you can really have the mindset and really believe that, the little things matter, then people can really make a difference in their own life.
The power of gratitude is, first of all, it almost sounds cliche because people say it all the time, but when you really just look at what gratitude is and what emotions come up as a result of just feeling grateful for the smallest thing, because gratitude, you can be the energy that is created when you're grateful for something as simple as, wow, that pen's right here and I really needed it, can be just as powerful as gratitude for, I moved through a serious illness, or gratitude is in and of it doesn't matter what size of the thing you're grateful for. It creates an amazing energy of, I have this and more, or I'm grateful, whatever. I am attracting things that just make me feel good. And from the law of attraction point of view, obviously this is so cliche, but if you're sitting in a state of gratitude, then you're attracting more things to be grateful for. So as overdone sometimes as it feels, probably because I'm in the industry and hear people talking about gratitude journals and things like that, it's such a key thing just to take a few minutes and just, especially when you're feeling at your worst, when things are just really seem to be crumbling down around you, to find those little things that you're grateful for. It's the toughest time sometimes to do it, but it's such an amazing emotional shifter. And once you step into that truly, that sense of gratitude, your experience of reality will change. It has to, because you are now communicating in a different way. I'm now in resonance with a different thing. You can easily slip back into being not grateful if you roll over and see something that irritates you, but moving into that that sense of gratitude on a regular basis so that it's habituated, and starting your day with it is obviously the best way to do it, is a practice that if everybody could get into it, truly everybody could get into it, the world would be absolutely, completely a different place.
Yeah, because you would have a different attitude. Yeah, like Adrian said, gratitude is the attitude that sets the altitude for living. I love that. And I remember when I was in a dark place or a negative place, you know, some people say, oh, I have nothing to be grateful for.
Yeah.
I had to find things to be grateful for, and it was very hard because I was in that victim state of mind. And there was at one point in my life when I was trying to figure out what I'm grateful for, and I wiggled my toes, and I said, I'm grateful that I can wiggle my toes. But that really did change my mindset, because that's something to be grateful for. I can have easily lost limbs when I was in septic shock, just because that most of the people that survive come out with limbs cut off because they have to stop the circulation from the blood. So just changing the mindset to that small thing about wiggling your toes, like it does manifest more things to be grateful for in your life, and it does change your perspective, and your perspective creates your reality.
You know, it's funny. This is my perspective on gratitude. This is a silly example, but every time. So, you know when you get chapped lips, like your lips are chapped, and you don't have chapstick, right? Is that the worst feeling? Like, and no matter what you do, you're licking, you're trying to do, and there's just it's no relief, and it's burning. It's in those moments when I go, I am going to be so grateful when my freaking lips aren't chapped anymore. Or if I could just find a thing of Carmex. I mean, the gratitude for something like that, or when you're stuck in traffic and have to go to the bathroom. Yeah. How grateful you are when you can pull over and go. I mean, just remembering those types of things, those seriously, having to go to the bathroom in traffic and not having chapstick are the biggest gratitude lessons for me. I mean, really, because it's such a small thing to find a tube of chapstick, but in that moment, oh, thank you, you know? It's that contrast. So when you deal with health problems, and I've had to deal with some serious health issues as well, not as serious as yours, but you know, when that shows up, that's really like, I will be so grateful when I just feel better, when I can just roll over in this bed and not be in pain. You know, it's like it's unfortunate that sometimes it takes that level of, you know, a kick in the butt to get that, but you know, you don't have to wait until then. But those are some moments that, when you have those stark moments of contrast, those are ones to remember, and you can tap back into. Like even just right now, I'm so grateful that my lips aren't chapped. I just can't even tell you.
No, that's so true. I know, I didn't even think about that, but I am so grateful, especially when I lived in New York, when I had to go to the bathroom and I found the bathroom that didn't have a line. I was like, yes!
I know, it's the simple things, but it's you know, good stuff.
So
11, I'll have to go. Is that okay, Alexa?
Yeah, I was gonna round it up. So does anybody have any last questions for Bob, myself, or even Josh before we end this? But thank you so much, Bob, for talking to me on this. And I have been a huge fan of The Secret and the Law of Attraction, and I think it's so important because people think that it is something that, like, oh, okay, you're gonna attract it into your life, but really, like, I always say, if you don't want to believe it, that's fine. But believing is so much more fun, especially when it does work. It does really work.
Yeah. Well, what's the benefit? What benefit do you derive from not believing this?
Exactly.
Like, what's the benefit?
Exactly.
You see people who believe it and their lives are incredible. So they've chosen to believe it or know it or whatever, and they're getting results. And you can sit there and the only reason I can think of, the only benefit that these people get is that they think they're right.
Right.
You know, well, I'm clearly right. Okay, well, we're happy and wrong. You know, we're abundant and wrong. I would rather be wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there isn't a benefit to this except because, and I find that the naysayers, the people who really go out of their way to blast you or to harass you or make fun of you, these are not happy people. Happy people do not take the time out to belittle other people or make fun of their beliefs or to tell them they're wrong. Happy people don't have the time for that. They're out there living their lives. You know, happy people get it. There's no reason to tell somebody else that they're wrong, that their beliefs aren't working, especially like, who are you? You are an unhappy, angry person. Why would I listen to you? Why would I take on your beliefs? So whenever I get a naysayer, you know, I long ago decided that I would never argue the law of attraction or debate the law of attraction. It brings you down into this argumentative energy. It sounds defensive. It's like, you know, like I said, my vision has always been to talk to as many willing, open minds as possible. They may not fully get it. They may not fully even believe it, but at least they're open to the conversation. I have no interest in wasting my energy with people who want to argue about it, because they're committed to their position. They're committed to their position. And so why would I want to drag them out? Because they're not going to anyway. They will argue till the end on their position, and we've all just wasted a lot of time. But if somebody's open and saying, teach me, I really want to understand this, you know, that's the person I'm going to engage with.
Yeah, I think aside from also wanting to be right, I think a lot of people are scared that it won't work for them. And they're scared. It comes down to believing that they're not worthy of achieving what they want to achieve in life. And
that's a good point. That is another reason they would do that, because the power scares them.
Yes.
Or the fear of failure. Like, well, maybe it works for them and it doesn't work for me, and I don't need another failure in my life, so I'm not even going to try it. That kind of thing. Right. That's another very good reason why people will.
Yeah, failure will last as long as you allow it. You know, so if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You know, don't be the smartest person in the room. Always have an opinion. Always have it. You know, have an open mindset to everybody around you, because you know you're gonna feed off everybody's energy, and like it's just people don't understand that. They think that when you're looking at a celebrity you watch on TV, they think that, hey, I'll never get there. Those people are superheroes, but they're not. They started from the bottom just like everybody else did. They had a vision. They had a dream. You know. And they made it, so anybody else can do it. You just need to work and just have the mindset that, and raise your belief system. If everybody raised their belief system just a little bit every day, they can get to the next point in their life or the next goal that they want to reach. And each goal is like a whole other, like, just way of getting to where you want.
I always say, let your haters be your motivators.
For the dedicators. Yeah, haters are motivators for the dedicators. Exactly.
Yeah. But it really is, so we're going to end this in 1 second, but it really is true that people don't believe that they're worthy of achieving. And also people are so competitive that they think that, oh, for example, here's live stream, right? They think, oh, there's already a Periscope, there's already a Meerkat, I'm not even going to try to create a blab. But there's enough room for everyone. And if you guys are all different. So you guys all have different mindsets, different creativity. That's the same. Like if say, for example, the Beatles said, oh, there's already too many boy bands, I'm not going to try. Then there would never be the Beatles. So you have to understand that your story is different. You have a different DNA than everyone else. And you are worthy of living a life you love, just like everyone else is living a life that they love.
Exactly.
That's a great distinction.
We're God's highest form of creation. We can do whatever we want. Seriously. And I just have to
yeah, amazing. So I know that Bob has to go. So thank you so much for everyone tuning in and stayed part of the conversation. And I know there's an amazing chat room going over on the side. And thank you so much, Bob, for sharing your wisdom with all of us. I look forward.
You're welcome. And I will go back. I want to go back and look at some of these comments too, and kind of see what was going on there. But I'd love to do this anytime. It was great to connect with you. Ray Cinemato told me the day we met that, oh, Alexa Carlin, she's a huge secret fan. You should reach out. So I started watching some of your scopes, and I comment. And it's always one of those things where you comment when you're always looking somewhere else. Like it always just misses. But then I don't remember how I just tweeted you yesterday, said, let's do this. And you jumped on there and said, let's do it tomorrow. I was like, okay, let's do it tomorrow.
No, I was excited. Excited to connect with you and excited to use this new platform for it. I think this is amazing. So, yeah, so I will send you, let me end this off. So thank you, everyone, and connect with Bob Doyle. What's your website again?
Boundlessliving.com.
Boundlessliving.com. You can find more about my story at alexacarlin.com. And yeah, I'll have many more blabs. So make sure you're following me, and you can follow Josh and Bob right there. It's really